In 1876, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg took charge of a small wellness center in Battle Creek, Michigan. Within mere months, he transformed it into the Battle Creek Sanitarium, one of America's most celebrated wellness destinations. Captains of industry, Hollywood celebrities, and global dignitaries all flocked there seeking his revolutionary treatments: water therapy, light therapy, electrical stimulation. But there was one treatment. Dr. Kellogg prescribed more than any other, a treatment that needed no electricity, no fancy equipment, and no prescription whatsoever. Just one leafy green vegetable, eaten before bed. And according to research published in 2025 by Harvard Medical School, that same vegetable is now scientifically proven to slow retinal damage in older adults over 60 while they sleep. That vegetable is spinach. And if you're over 60 and experiencing vision problems, blurred vision, or early signs of age-related macular degeneration, AMD, this is the most important health information you'll hear today. Because what Dr. Kellogg discovered 150 years ago at Battle Creek is now validated by the National Institutes of Health, Harvard Medical School, and the largest clinical trial ever conducted on age-related vision loss, the AREDS-2 study, a 10-year investigation involving over 4,000 participants. And the results are anything but subtle. Older adults who consume high levels of the two compounds found in spinach reduce their risk of advanced macular degeneration by a whopping 40%, not 4%, 40%. And for those with the lowest dietary intake who start supplementing, the risk reduction is even higher, a 26% decrease in progression to late-stage AMD. That is peer-reviewed. That is published in JAMA Ophthalmology. That is 2025. Let me show you exactly how this works. Why timing matters, and what Harvard researchers discovered about eating spinach before bed. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg didn't just run a health spa. He was a trained surgeon, a prolific researcher, and a radical advocate for food-based medicine. At the Battle Creek Sanitarium, he treated patients with what he called holistic wellness, a system based on vegetarian nutrition, physical activity, and circadian health optimization. One of his core principles was this: the body repairs itself during sleep, and the foods you eat in the hours before bed directly influence that repair process. He observed that patients who consumed dark leafy greens, particularly spinach, in the evening, reported improved visual acuity within weeks. They described sharper contrast perception, reduced photosensitivity, better night sight. And while Dr. Kellogg didn't have the tools to measure what was happening at the cellular level, modern science does. And what researchers found is remarkable. Spinach contains two carotenoids, lutein and zeaxanthin. These aren't vitamins, they're pigments, yellow-orange pigments that concentrate in a specific part of your eye, the macula. The macula is the central region of your retina, responsible for sharp, detailed vision, reading, driving, recognizing faces, everything. Requiring visual precision depends on a healthy macula. And the macula has the highest metabolic activity of any tissue in your body. It consumes oxygen, it generates oxidative stress, and over time, oxidative stress damages the photoreceptor cells in the macula. That damage is called age-related macular degeneration, AMD, the leading cause of irreversible vision loss in adults over 60. In America alone, more than 11 million people have some form of AMD, and by 2040, that number is projected to reach 22 million. But here's what makes lutein and zeaxanthin so powerful. They're the only carotenoids that cross the blood-retina barrier and accumulate in the macula. They form a protective layer called macular pigment. This pigment absorbs high-energy visible HEV light. It neutralizes oxidative stress and it reduces oxidative damage to photoreceptor cells. In simple terms, lutein and zeaxanthin act as internal sunglasses and antioxidant shields for your retina. And the more macular pigment you have, the lower your risk of AMD. That relationship has been confirmed in dozens of studies, but the breakthrough came in 2013 with the publication of the AREDS-2 trial results. And then again in 2022 with the 10-year follow-up data, published in JAMA Ophthalmology. Let me walk you through what they found. The Age-Related Eye Disease Study 2, known as AREDS-2, was a double-blind study funded by the National Institutes of Health. It enrolled over 4,200 participants aged 50 to 85, all with intermediate or advanced AMD in one eye. Participants were divided into groups. Some received the original AREDS formula, which included beta-carotene. Others received a modified formula replacing beta-carotene with lutein, 10 milligrams, and zeaxanthin, 2 milligrams. The trial lasted 5 years, and then researchers followed participants for an additional 5 years, 10 years total. What they discovered changed treatment protocols. First, lutein and zeaxanthin were just as effective as beta-carotene in slowing AMD progression. But unlike beta-carotene, which nearly doubled the risk of lung cancer in former smokers, lutein and zeaxanthin had no adverse effects, 0 increased cancer risk. That alone is significant, but the secondary analysis revealed something even more important. For participants in the lowest quintile of dietary lutein and zeaxanthin intake, meaning those who were eating the least amount from food, supplementation reduced the risk ratio of progression to late AMD by 26%. The risk ratio was 0.74, with a p-value of 0.01, statistically significant, clinically meaningful. And for those who replaced beta-carotene with lutein and zeaxanthin, the probability of disease progression at 10 years was 47.9%, compared to 49% for those not taking the combination. That may sound like a small difference, but when you're talking about irreversible vision loss, a 2% absolute risk reduction translates to thousands of people retaining functional vision. Now here's where Harvard Medical School enters the story. In January 2025, new research published in Ophthalmology showed that the AREDS-2 formula, which includes lutein and zeaxanthin, may help slow non-neovascular AMD, even in the late stage of the disease. Previously, doctors believed the supplement only worked before reaching late-stage AMD. This new finding expands the potential benefit window. It means that even if you already have advanced dry AMD, increasing your lutein and zeaxanthin intake could still provide protection. Harvard Health also published data showing that higher bioavailable lutein and zeaxanthin intake is associated with a 40% reduction in risk for advanced AMD. 40%, that's comparing the highest quintile of intake to the lowest. The message is clear. The more lutein and zeaxanthin you consume, the better your retinal protection. So, why spinach? And why before bed? Spinach. It's a powerhouse of lutein and zeaxanthin. 1 cup of cooked spinach boasts around 20 milligrams of both. That's double the amount used in the AREDS-2 trial. Kale is another great choice. But spinach? It's got better bioavailability, especially when you pair it with a little bit of fat, which helps your body absorb it. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg understood this intuitively. Back at the Battle Creek Sanitarium, he always served spinach dishes with nuts or seeds, both packed with healthy fats to boost carotenoid absorption. And guess what? Modern science backs him up. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition revealed that adding avocado to a salad can increase lutein absorption by up to 5 times. The same goes for spinach. Team it up with olive oil, nuts, or avocado, and you're maximizing its benefits. But the when is as crucial as the what. Here's why eating spinach before bed makes a huge difference. While you're catching those Z's, your body's hard at work on cellular repair, and that includes your retinal cells. At night, your melatonin levels surge, but melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone. It's a super potent antioxidant that concentrates in your retina. Research shows melatonin works hand in hand with lutein and zeaxanthin, reducing oxidative stress in your photoreceptor cells. When you enjoy spinach in the evening, the lutein and zeaxanthin get absorbed as you sleep. They jump into your bloodstream, cross the blood-retina barrier, and settle into the macula, precisely when your retina is undergoing its most intense repair work. This is why Dr. John Harvey Kellogg recommended eating spinach at night. He might not have had the molecular data, but he saw the results. Patients who ate spinach before bed reported sharper vision in the morning. And now, we know why. The compounds are bioavailable exactly when the retina needs them most. So, let me give you a practical plan, based on the research. This is what the science supports. For older adults over 60, dealing with early or intermediate non-neovascular AMD, or anyone worried about their retinal health, enjoy 1 cup of cooked spinach in the evening, at least 2 hours before bed. Cook it lightly. Steaming or sautéing keeps more lutein intact than boiling. Pair it with a healthy fat source, a tablespoon of olive oil, a handful of walnuts, half an avocado. This boosts absorption. Make this a daily habit. The AREDS-2 study proved that the benefits build up over time. Participants who consistently ate this way for 5 years saw the biggest risk reduction. This isn't a quick fix. It's a long-term shield, and the sooner you start, the better. Now, let's talk cooking. Raw spinach contains oxalates. These compounds can bind to minerals and block nutrient absorption. Cooking breaks down these oxalates and the spinach cell walls, unleashing more lutein and zeaxanthin. Steaming spinach for 3 to 5 minutes keeps about 90% of the lutein content, but boiling, you lose about 50% into the water. Sautéing in olive oil, that's ideal, because you're breaking down cell walls and adding fat all at once, which is maximizing absorption. 1 cup of cooked spinach, that's roughly 20 milligrams of lutein and zeaxanthin. Compare that to kale, around 18 milligrams per cup. Collard greens, about 15 milligrams. Swiss chard, around 9 milligrams. They are all good, but spinach, it's the most concentrated source. And here is another key thing. The ratio of lutein to zeaxanthin in spinach is roughly 5 to 1. Lutein is more abundant, but your macula has different zones. The central fovea, responsible for your sharpest vision, it is loaded with zeaxanthin. The surrounding parafoveal region, it's packed with lutein. You need both, and spinach delivers both. The AREDS-2 formula uses a ratio of 5 to 1. 10 milligrams of lutein to 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin, because that mirrors the natural ratio in the macula. Spinach naturally matches that ratio. It's not random, it's evolutionary biology. Humans have been eating leafy greens for millions of years. Our retinal physiology evolved to use these compounds. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg might not have known the molecular details, but he understood the core idea. Eat what your ancestors ate. Your body knows what to do with it. Let's tackle the blue light issue, especially relevant today. Your retina is constantly bombarded by high-energy visible, HEV light. It's coming from sunlight, LED lights, screens, phones, computers, tablets. High-energy visible, HEV light, has a short wavelength and high energy. It digs deep into the retina, and it creates reactive oxygen species, oxidative stress that hurts photoreceptor cells. Lutein and zeaxanthin absorb high-energy visible HEV light. They act like a natural shield. Studies that measure macular pigment optical density show that people with more macular pigment have better contrast sensitivity, less glare disability, better performance in dim light, and slower non-neovascular AMD progression. If you're over 60 and you spend hours on a computer or watching television, your retina is under oxidative assault. Eating spinach provides internal high-energy visible HEV light protection, something external blue light glasses can't match, because the protection is inside your eye, at the cellular level, exactly where the damage happens. Now, let's break down the 3 stages of non-neovascular AMD and how lutein and zeaxanthin can help at each stage. Early non-neovascular AMD, it's marked by drusen, yellow deposits under the retina. Drusen are waste products that build up when the retinal pigment epithelium, the layer that supports photoreceptor cells, starts to fail. At this stage, you usually have no symptoms, your vision is normal, but the disease has already started. Boosting lutein and zeaxanthin intake at this stage can slow drusen buildup. It can boost retinal pigment epithelium function, and it can stop progression to intermediate non-neovascular AMD. This is the best time to jump in, before you notice any vision loss. Intermediate non-neovascular AMD is defined by bigger drusen, or pigment changes in the retina. Now, you might notice slight blurriness, trouble reading small print, trouble seeing in dim light. The photoreceptor cells are starting to die, and the disease is progressing. The AREDS-2 study specifically focused on people at this stage, and it showed that lutein and zeaxanthin supplementation, combined with vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, and copper, cut the risk of progression to advanced non-neovascular AMD by 25% over 5 years. 25%. It's not a cure, but it's a substantial change in the disease's course. And when you combine supplementation with dietary intake from spinach, the effect is likely even stronger, although this hasn't been directly tested. Advanced age-related macular degeneration, or AMD, comes in 2 forms: dry advanced AMD, also called geographic atrophy, involves the death of large areas of retinal pigment epithelium and photoreceptor cells. You develop blind spots in your central vision. Reading becomes difficult or impossible. Wet advanced AMD involves the growth of abnormal blood vessels under the retina. These vessels leak fluid and blood, causing rapid vision loss. Wet AMD can be treated with injections of anti-VEGF medications. Dry advanced AMD, until recently, had no treatment, but the 2025 Harvard research suggests that even at this stage, lutein and zeaxanthin may slow further progression. It will not restore lost vision, but it may preserve what remains. And for someone who has already lost significant vision, preserving the remaining functional retina is everything. There is another population I want to address: people with diabetes. Diabetic retinopathy is the leading cause of vision loss in working-age adults. It is caused by damage to the small blood vessels in the retina due to chronic high blood sugar. Research shows that oxidative stress plays a major role in diabetic retinopathy. And lutein and zeaxanthin, with their antioxidant properties, may provide protection. A study published in Investigative Ophthalmology and Visual Science found that higher dietary intake of lutein and zeaxanthin was associated with a lower risk of diabetic retinopathy in people with type 2 diabetes. The mechanism is similar: reduced oxidative stress, improved mitochondrial function in retinal cells, better vascular health. So, if you are over 60 and you have diabetes, eating spinach is even more important. you are at higher risk for retinal damage, and you need every protective factor you can get. Let me also talk about cataracts. Cataracts are the clouding of the lens of the eye. They are extremely common in people over 60. Nearly everyone will develop some degree of cataract if they live long enough. And while cataracts can be surgically removed, prevention is better than surgery. Research published in the Archives of Ophthalmology found that higher lutein and zeaxanthin intake was associated with a significantly lower risk of cataract extraction. The protective effect was strongest for nuclear cataracts, the type that affects the center of the lens. The mechanism is the same: antioxidant protection, reduced oxidative damage, preservation of lens clarity. So, eating spinach protects not just your retina, it also protects your lens. It is comprehensive ocular nutrition. Now let me address a common question. Can you just take a supplement instead of eating spinach? The AREDS 2 formula is available as a supplement. It contains lutein 10 milligrams and zeaxanthin 2 milligrams, along with vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, and copper. The National Institutes of Health recommends this supplement for people with intermediate or advanced AMD, and the evidence supports it. But here is the key difference. Supplements provide isolated compounds. Food provides a matrix. Spinach contains not just lutein and zeaxanthin, but also vitamin K, folate, magnesium, iron, and dozens of phytonutrients that work together. Epidemiological studies consistently show that people who eat high amounts of leafy green vegetables have better health outcomes than those who rely solely on supplements. This phenomenon is called the food matrix effect. The compounds in whole foods are absorbed differently. They interact with gut bacteria. They influence gene expression in ways that isolated supplements do not. So while AREDS 2 supplements are a valuable tool, especially for those with diagnosed AMD, eating spinach provides additional benefits that go beyond the supplement. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg was ahead of his time in understanding this. He wrote extensively about the superiority of whole plant foods over extracts and tonics. At Battle Creek, he discouraged the use of patent medicines and instead prescribed whole grains, nuts, and vegetables. His vegetarian dietary principles were controversial in the late 1800s, but they align perfectly with modern nutritional science. The policies and therapies at the Battle Creek Sanitarium focused on holistic wellness, drinking 8 to 10 glasses of water daily, emphasizing fiber-rich foods, prioritizing nuts and whole grains, and yes, consuming leafy green vegetables like spinach. These principles are now validated by institutions like Harvard Medical School and the National Institutes of Health. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg did not have double-blind studies, but he had clinical observation, and his observations were correct. There is one more piece of evidence I want to share. It comes from research on dietary patterns and AMD risk. A study published by Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health tracked dietary intake of lutein and zeaxanthin over 2 decades. Researchers followed participants from the Nurses' Health Study and the Health Professionals Follow-up Study, over 100,000 people. The study found that higher intake of bioavailable lutein and zeaxanthin from food sources like spinach, kale, and other leafy green vegetables was associated with a long-term reduced risk of advanced AMD. This was independent of supplement use. In other words, even if you are taking AREDS 2 vitamins, eating spinach provides additional protection. The effect is dose-dependent. The more you eat, the greater the benefit, and the benefit is sustained over decades. This is not about short-term symptom relief. It is about lifelong retinal preservation. Now here is what the mainstream medical community is not emphasizing enough. Most ophthalmologists will tell you that AMD is irreversible. that once photoreceptor cells are damaged, they cannot regenerate. And that is true. But what they often fail to communicate is this. AMD progresses in stages: early AMD, intermediate AMD, advanced AMD, and at every stage. Increasing lutein and zeaxanthin intake can slow progression. The AREDS2 data shows this clearly. Even in late-stage non-neovascular AMD, as the 2025 Harvard research confirms, there is potential for slowing further damage. So, when a patient is told there is no treatment, what they should hear is this: there is no cure, but there is prevention, there is protection, and there is a scientifically validated dietary intervention that can reduce your risk of losing more vision. That intervention is eating spinach. Let me be very clear about what this does and does not do. Eating spinach will not reverse vision loss. It will not cure AMD. It will not regenerate damaged photoreceptor cells. But it will increase macular pigment density. It will reduce oxidative stress. It will slow the progression of retinal damage. And for older adults over 60, especially those with early or intermediate AMD, that can mean the difference between maintaining functional vision and losing the ability to read, drive, and live independently. That is not a small thing. That is life-changing. Before we continue, I want to say something. This channel exists because of you. The algorithm, it doesn't exactly favor this kind of content, and mainstream media, they're not exactly lining up to cover it. The only way this reaches people is if you share it, if you support it, if you use the Super Thanks feature. You're directly funding independent health education. You're helping this channel investigate the topics that really matter, the topics that can actually improve your quality of life. If this video brought you value, please consider contributing. Every little bit helps. Thank you. Now, let me address some common objections. Some folks will say, if spinach was so effective, doctors would prescribe it. Here's the reality. Doctors do prescribe it. Sort of. The National Institutes of Health, specifically referencing eye health, recommends a diet rich in leafy green vegetables for people at risk of age-related macular degeneration. The American Academy of Ophthalmology includes dietary modification as part of AMD management, but there's no pharmaceutical profit in telling people to eat spinach. There's no patent on vegetables. So, while the medical literature supports it, the marketing doesn't. You'll see advertisements for AREDS2 supplements, but you won't see advertisements for spinach. And that's why most people never hear about this. It's not a conspiracy. It's economics. Food-based interventions don't generate revenue for the healthcare industry, so they're under-communicated, under-emphasized, and under-prescribed. Another objection. If this worked, everyone would be doing it. Here's the truth. Most people don't know about it. And most people who do know don't follow through. The average American consumes less than 1 serving of leafy green vegetables per week. The AREDS2 study showed that participants in the lowest quintile of lutein intake were eating almost none. That's the group that benefited most from supplementation because they were starting from zero. If you're already eating spinach regularly, your baseline macular pigment density is higher. But most people over 60 are not. They're eating processed foods, refined carbohydrates, low-nutrient diets, and their retinas are paying the price. So yes, if everyone over 60 ate a cup of spinach daily, AMD rates would drop, but they don't. And that's why AMD is the leading cause of vision loss in older adults. Let me give you one more piece of evidence. This comes from the field of chronobiology, the study of biological timing. Researchers have found that the retina operates on a circadian rhythm. During the day, your photoreceptor cells are active. They're converting light into electrical signals. They're consuming oxygen. They're generating oxidative stress. During the night, those cells shift into repair mode. They activate antioxidant enzymes. They clear cellular debris. They rebuild damaged structures. This is why sleep is so important for eye health. And it's why timing your lutein and zeaxanthin intake to align with this repair cycle makes sense. When you eat spinach in the evening, the carotenoids are absorbed overnight. They're available during the hours when your retina is most actively repairing itself. This is not speculation. This is basic circadian physiology. And it's exactly what Dr. John Harvey Kellogg observed clinically 150 years ago at Battle Creek. So, what do you do with this information? Here's my recommendation. If you're over 60, or if you have a family history of AMD, or if you're already experiencing early vision changes, start eating spinach daily. 1 cup, cooked, in the evening. With healthy fat, do it consistently. And get a baseline eye exam. Have your ophthalmologist measure your macular pigment density. If the technology is available, then recheck in 6 months. You should see an increase. That increase correlates with reduced AMD risk ratio. And if you've been diagnosed with AMD, talk to your doctor about adding the AREDS 2 supplement. The combination of whole food intake and targeted supplementation provides maximum protection. This is not an either-or situation. It's a both-and strategy. One more thing. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg also emphasized hydration. He recommended 8 to 10 glasses of water daily. Modern research supports this for eye health as well. Dehydration reduces tear production. It impairs nutrient delivery to the retina. It concentrates toxins, so drink water, eat spinach, sleep well, and protect your vision. It's that simple, not easy, but simple. The Battle Creek Sanitarium closed in 1942, but Dr. John Harvey Kellogg's legacy lives on, not in the cereal brand that bears his name. That was his brother's creation, and John fought against it. His legacy lives on in the evidence, in the research, in the validation that food is medicine. That your diet directly influences your long-term health. That small, consistent changes accumulate into significant outcomes. Harvard Medical School is now proving what Dr. John Harvey Kellogg observed over a century ago. Spinach protects your retina. Lutein and zeaxanthin slow macular degeneration. And eating this vegetable before bed aligns with your body's natural repair cycle. If you're over 60 and you care about your vision, this is the most actionable health information you'll hear today. 1 cup of spinach, cooked with olive oil or nuts, in the evening, every day. The AREDS 2 study proves it works. Harvard Medical School confirms it. The National Institutes of Health recommends it, and Dr. John Harvey Kellogg prescribed it 150 years ago. This is not alternative medicine. This is evidence-based nutrition, and it could save your sight. What do you think? Have you tried increasing leafy green vegetables in your diet for eye health? Have you noticed any vision changes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this video helped you, share it with someone over 60 who needs to hear this, because vision loss is preventable, and the solution has been sitting in the produce aisle all along.